when we're young and these narratives that are told us, especially by people who are monumental in our life, people like parents, grandparents, people that tell us stuff like that, it's like we have a dry erase board inside of us. And people who tell us nice things are just written in dry erase and they're easily erased. But the things in the narratives, like, you're stupid, you'll amount to nothing, no girl will ever want you, that's written in permanent marker on your dry erase board.
Oh,
and the problem is,
it's written in more than permanent marker. It's etched in with a knife that cuts deep.
Yes. And it doesn't matter how many times you fill it in. I was going to say with the permanent marker, it doesn't matter how many times you try to erase it with your typical eraser, it's not going anywhere. And even if you manage to scrape and scrub it off, you're going to have a yellow mark left in the dry erase board where it's still there. And so that's where these narratives is so important. Like, even now, as we're going through the books, let me just be 100% honest with you guys. I am loving the process of writing this book. But also while writing this book, I have dealt with the worst imposter syndrome I have ever dealt with. I have been on the phone with Jimmy multiple times a week, just literally saying things out loud like, I'm not good enough for this. Who would read anything that I would ever write? And all this is, it's not what I actually believe. It's all of those narratives from my past. I can still audibly hear the stepdad's voice. I can still hear the things he said to me, that I wasn't good enough, and it didn't matter if I made perfect grades. I was still a piece of shit. I remember those things. And so it's so important when you're dealing with the narratives that you tell yourself, that you give yourself, the time to just kind of like go into it and really, really examine it. Is it truth? Or is it a complete lie that you've oh goodness, sorry. Is it a complete lie that you believed for so long that it's etched into that dry erase board?
Yeah, and you don't really break free from that until you have somebody that comes into your life that can articulate what the truth is. You have been that for me in a lot of ways, because I remember when we first became friends and we started doing this, talking a little bit, I noticed that you would be like, so why are you that way? Yeah. And it never dawned on me that I believed certain ways and had certain kind of things that were who I was. And I remember you asking kind of bluntly, is that what you believe? Is that what you believe? And you kind of made me stop in my tracks and go, I don't know. It's what I've always believed. And so that was like the matriculation of us going one step deeper in our personal conversations. And I've done the same thing to you. I've asked you, like, why are you that way? Oh.
But just because it's something that you've always believed doesn't mean that it's true. I try to tell this to people who are in the older generation who just like kind of fight against anything that's new that comes along. I'm like, I understand your hesitancy because it's new to you, which makes it foreign, which makes it uncomfortable. I understand, but give yourself 30 seconds to just actually look into it and actually form your own opinion outside of the masses. Don't go on social media looking for your opinion on a stance. Look at things yourself and then develop your stance. This is what I did almost 4 years ago now when I threw everything away. I was tired of people I was tired of the narrative. I'm like, I'm done with people telling me how to think, how to believe, how to move, how to think, how to parent, how to be in a relationship. I'm sick and tired of it. I want to know for myself. I want to go through each of these topics. And I have one after another, a lot like our journal is written out. This is what I would do. I would take this information and I would fill up, and then I'd ask myself a couple of questions. And maybe I wasn't done. Maybe I had to go over that same, religion and stuff. I had to like keep going and go, do I believe that? Do I actually believe that? I had to ask me that same question that you've definitely asked me and I've asked you of, do I really believe this? Is this something that I actually believe? And if it is something, why do I believe it? If you cannot tell yourself why, if you don't have a reason for why you believe what you believe, chances are it's not real. It's not a belief that you should have. If you cannot have a solid reason why you believe what you believe. And then, going back into this narrative, be careful that if you do have a why for what you believe, that it's not tied up into a narrative.
And that solid reason why you believe isn't just because, well, so and so told me. Because so and so telling you, they're part of the narrative that has been created in your head.
Oh
And
yeah.
unless you trust them, I mean, there's very few people I would hear something from them, then I would just automatically believe. You're one of them, my mom and my sister. You
Yeah.
three, y'all are the three people in my life that if I heard something from you, I might want to go vet it out, but I'll immediately go, I trust you enough, I'll believe it. Yeah, I mean, but everyone else, you sus. You on the radar. We gonna look. We're gonna look you up. We're gonna chop you up and down because I don't believe you.
Right.
Sorry, sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. I give it the, I'm not sure about that. I'll get back to you. I give it the, that doesn't sit right with me. But yeah, pretty much if it comes from Jimmy, actually, all right, we're just being honest here. Even my closest friend Jimmy and my husband, Wild Man, I still question things that they say to me
Yeah,
because of the narratives that have been
yeah,
in my mind. The people
yeah,
that I'm closest with, I have been married to Wild Man for 10 years. We've been together for
yeah.
11 years. That man is my world. He turns my world, okay? But when he's like, you look good, I'm like, ugh, gross, don't say that, because that's like there's such a deep narrative written and etched into who I am. I can't believe that from him, even though I know he loves me. I know he cares for me. When Jimmy
Yeah.
compliments me, when he started, guys, when Jimmy would give me compliments and feedback about the book, and it would be like nothing negative, and I'd be like, "You're lying. You're not. Whatever.
Oh,
No,
it
that's
was
not
worse
real."
than that, guys. She was like this. And I'm just like, can you speak English words? Because I don't know what means.
My perceptions are clouded. My
Yes.
future perceptions and my perceptions in everyday life are clouded by the narratives that have been told to me. And even though I am actively trying to get rid of them and trying to dismantle them and unlearn all the things that I've been told, even though I'm doing that work, I still struggle. I still struggle. And you know that we were not going to get through this first episode back without me talking about Joe Dispenza, who I have found during our podcast break. I have found this guy named Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. I like literally just started listening to his stuff and I'm blown away. One of the things that he was saying is our thoughts and our feelings are two different things. But when you think something, you feel something. And as you feel something, you begin to think it more, and then it becomes a spiral, both positive and negatively. So when you think a thought based on a narrative that you believe, it becomes what you feel. And so the thought is, I'm insecure. Well, then I begin to feel insecure, and feeling insecure leads me to thinking all these negative things about myself. I don't even want to say them out loud. I'm this, I'm that, I'm all the things we tell ourselves when we look in the mirror. Okay. And because I'm now speaking those things out loud, I'm thinking them again. I am planting a narrative inside of myself as my thoughts become my feelings and my feelings become my thoughts.
And it's a narrative that you yourself believe that you believe because you've reiterated. You're hitting on something great here. You've reiterated what's been told to you by someone else, even once, one time from somebody, becomes a part of your psyche.
Yeah.
Then in your psyche, you're processing on your brain noodles, as you like to say, processing all of that, and then you're verbalizing it back to yourself as you're looking in the mirror or whatever. And then at that point, you do believe
Yeah.
the narrative, even though it was never, ever, ever true. Now that you've spoken the words of it, it's become true for you.
I have one. I have one, guys. I have something that plays over in my head. Oh my goodness. So there's a lady in our family. She is basically the matriarch of the family at this point. She's in her 90s. And I love her. She's very sweet. But when I was a kid, I think I was, gosh, 7 or 8. I mean, I was little and I was chunk, okay? I love all the sweet things. Totally acceptable, okay? I'm not downing myself in that time. Well, I had two cousins and we would go play in this playroom. And my two cousins sit me down to go get a plate of dessert for us to share. I used to love dessert, all kinds of dessert, cake, pie, ice cream, cookies, muffins. I used to love it all. I walk down, I get the plate of dessert. I'm taking the plate of dessert to go share, but she didn't know that. And Aunt May was like, and that's why you're fat. Aunt May. So I take the plate up to my cousins. I cry my eyes out in the bathroom. And from that moment, I don't eat cake anymore. I don't
Yeah.
eat pie anymore. Really, I eat cookies. That's about all I would eat.
Yeah.
And I really don't like cake, guys. It's not even that big of a deal. I don't eat donuts. I don't like donuts. Like, I don't like those things. But how much of that was that moment that I convinced
Yeah.
myself, well, I don't like those things anymore because those make me fat.
Yeah. I remember when you told that story on this very podcast last year, that same story, and it broke my heart because
Yeah.
that right there, that moment was just a flashpoint. And that sweet lady today probably doesn't even remember
She
saying
doesn't
that to you.
remember. No, she doesn't. She
That was
doesn't.
20 years ago, 21 years ago. She's not gonna remember that she did. And plus, you said she's 90 now, so she was already old as dirt 20 years ago. So,
She's so sweet, like, and I've talked to her and had conversations with her, after this point, and it's not
right.
a big deal, but it's been a big deal in my mind for so long.
It's a
It just
big
stays.
it's a big deal in as much as it's still a narrative that prevents you from thinking a certain way.
Yeah,
And I guess let me throw a positive spin on narratives. Some narratives may keep you out of trouble. I think often to, and this is just Jimmy trying to shine a turd. You can't actually shine a turd, by the way. Look it up.
A lot of people ask me, Jimmy, how do you get such good deep sleep? Well, there's a lot of things that I do, but one of the newest things that I recently added is this upgraded magnesium from a company called Upgraded Formulas. Go to their website, upgradedformulas.com, and you can learn all about this nano technology that they use for this particular mineral of magnesium. Again, it's called Upgraded Magnesium, and it's got all the different forms of magnesium in it using the nanotechnology, so it gets absorbed a lot better. Guys, I have seen my deep sleep improve by as much as 30 to 40% simply by adding in this product along with sunshine exposure, darkness in the room, cooler temperature, all of the things that I always have done. So again, upgradedformulas.com is the website. Go check them out.
When my dad told me no girl will ever want you, you know what that did for Jimmy? It stopped Jimmy from jumping too quickly. Who's to say I wouldn't have jumped quickly at some girl in college, maybe got her pregnant, and maybe had to do the right thing because I would have been an upstanding guy and married and da-da-da, and maybe it was the wrong thing. Who knows?
yeah,
And maybe that wouldn't have worked out. But also the narrative pushed me in directions in my life that I probably shouldn't have gone as well. So, I mean, it can cut both ways. Sometimes narratives can be good if they produce results and are productive in our lives. But
yeah,
most of the time, narratives fed into us and not things that we tell ourselves, they are destructive and they leave a wake of calamity mentally, life experiences. Just you have regret, a lot of regret about your life because, especially when you kind of go back and go, oh, if I had only known then what I know now about that narrative, I would not have made that choice. I would have definitely chosen differently. I would have lived my own self. This is why you hear Brittany and I always talk about live your authentic self, who you are, discover who that person is. Our journal, our book is going to just go way, way deep in making you examine who you are so that you can rewrite those narratives. The narratives you have in your mind are what probably have been fed there. We want you to write your own story, your own narratives of what you believe. So then you can go and live who you are and stop living the life of people that, quite frankly, did not have your best interest in mind.
And I think I wanted to point out a good narrative too. Both you and I have told a lot of the bad narratives that we believed.